G'day and welcome to another episode of Tomo's Tune-Ups. On this episode, I'm answering a fan's question. I had someone ask, how do you adjust the clutch on a classic Mini? So today I'm going to show you how to adjust it and what to look for to make sure nothing's worn or leaking. Now the clutch system on a Mini is quite simple. You have your clutch master cylinder here and the pressure is created by you putting your foot on the clutch pedal itself. Once you put your foot on the clutch pedal, the fluid travels through this hard line, down in through the flexible line, then to the clutch slave cylinder. The slave cylinder then pushes this piston out and acts on the arm, which then disengages the clutch. Next thing you want to do is to check your clutch slave cylinder, see if there is any deterioration of the paint around here or if it's wet. If it is, then it's likely leaking. In my case, there is a little bit of paint that's starting to bubble here, but I know that it is the brake master cylinder that is leaking and needs to be rebuilt. Next thing you want to check is to make sure that this piston is moving. So what we're going to be doing is applying our foot on the clutch to see if it moves.
An easy check to do is to ensure that this slave cylinder isn't leaking. All you need to do is pull the boot back and just have a look. If there's any fluid inside there, then you know that it needs to be replaced and the seals are leaking. If not, you can reseal it and continue with your inspection and adjustment.
So now we've confirmed that there's no leaks in the system at all and the clutch slave cylinder is working along with the clutch master cylinder. It's time to make the adjustment. So what we're going to be doing is loosening off this lock nut here, and then we're going to be creating a larger distance between the clutch arm and this end stop here. So the first thing we're going to check is the gap between the stop bolt and the clutch arm. So what you want to be doing is grabbing the arm, sliding it to the side, and then checking the gap distance. So I'll see if I can just get my hand in here. So you can see now there is quite a large gap between the end stop bolt and the clutch arm. We want to make that gap as small as possible. The larger this gap is, the more likely it is that you're going to have clutch engagement problems. So what's essentially happening here is you're trying to only apply 50% of the pressure to the clutch pedal and then trying to engage the gear. It's going to grind, so you want to make sure that this gap is as small as possible and adjust it to the specifications inside the workshop manual. So what we're going to do to adjust it is grab a 7/16 spanner. We're going to loosen off the lock nut just down here. Once we've loosened it off, we're then going to turn this adjustment bolt and then allow the gap to get smaller and keep checking it by pulling the top of the clutch arm. Once you've got the right adjustment, you can then go and tighten the lock nut. Now I've still got a little bit of adjustment to go, so I'm going to turn the bolt a little bit more. So only turn it incrementally at each time. That way you're not going to over tighten it. Still got a little bit more to go, probably 1/4 of a turn, and it should be enough for us to tighten it up. Yep, that'll be perfect. You do ideally want to get a feeler gauge in there to check the gap between the end stop bolt and the clutch arm, but in my case I can visually see that it is better than what it was. Therefore we can finish the job and then go for a drive and confirm that we've fixed the problem.
Ensure as well that you make sure that there is at least a 7 to 10 thou gap between this nut and the clutch housing when you have your clutch fully depressed. If there isn't, it's going to be bottoming out too soon and you're not going to get full engagement.
So that's how you adjust a clutch on a classic Mini. Don't forget, when you're finished, make sure you go for a drive around the block and see how it feels. If it's still a little bit tight or it's not engaging, you've either incorrectly adjusted it or you've got another problem. Make sure you check inside the car as well to see if there is any excessive fluid from the clutch master cylinder. Thanks heaps for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time on an episode of Tomo's Tune-Ups, all things DIY and mechanical.